A poor student helped tutor a struggling classmate, unaware their dad is a billionaire philanthropist. And in that simple act of kindness, Ethan Cole's life began its unexpected transformation. The library's fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Ethan hunched over his worn textbook, the pages dog-eared and highlighted in various colors, a rainbow roadmap of his academic determination. Outside, rain pelted the windows, matching the rhythm of his tapping pencil. The library was his sanctuary, a warm haven from the leaky ceiling of his studio apartment, where he'd spent the previous night positioning buckets to catch dripping water. At 20, Ethan was older than most sophomores at Westlake University. He'd spent 2 years working odd jobs after high school, saving every penny to afford even community college before earning a partial scholarship to transfer here. His fingers, rough from weekend construction work, traced equations as he mouthed the solutions silently. Advanced calculus wasn't just another class. It was his ticket to a future beyond paycheck-to-paycheck existence. "Excuse me." The voice startled him. Ethan looked up to find a guy about his age standing awkwardly beside his table, designer backpack slung over one shoulder. Despite the casual jeans and hoodie, something about him screamed money. Perhaps the pristine white sneakers or the expensive watch glinting under the library lights. "You're Ethan, right? From Professor Warren's class?" The guy shifted his weight, knuckles white around the strap of his backpack. "I'm Lucas Bennett." Ethan nodded, recognizing him vaguely. The quiet kid who sat in the back row, who sometimes wasn't there at all. "What's up?" Lucas hesitated, then let out a breath that seemed to deflate his entire body. "I'm completely lost in that class. I've failed the last 2 quizzes, and if I don't pass the midterm next week..." He swallowed hard. "I heard you've got the highest grade." Pride flickered briefly in Ethan's chest, the kind that comes from recognition of hard work, before reality crashed back. He checked the cracked face of his watch. His shift at the campus coffee shop started in 40 minutes. "I don't really have time to..." "I'll pay you," Lucas interrupted, voice lowered. "Whatever your rate is for tutoring. Double it." Ethan's refusal died on his lips. The rent increase notice taped to his door flashed in his mind, along with the textbooks he needed for next semester and the persistent check engine light in his 15-year-old Honda. "I don't have an actual rate," he admitted, "but I could use the money." Relief softened Lucas's features. "Great, when can we start?" And so began the reluctant partnership between Ethan Cole and Lucas Bennett, a relationship built initially on necessity, one desperate to understand derivatives and integrals, the other desperate for the cash to keep his dreams from slipping away. Their first session stretched longer than planned. Lucas was frustratingly slow to grasp concepts that seemed intuitive to Ethan, but what he lacked in mathematical aptitude, he made up for in determination. After an hour of watching Lucas struggle with a problem set, something shifted in Ethan. The wall he'd built, the one that separated him from the privileged students who populated most of Westlake, developed a hairline crack. "Let's try something different," Ethan said, pushing aside the textbook. "Forget the formulas for a second. Calculus is just the language of change, how things transform over time." Lucas looked up, brow furrowed. "That doesn't help me solve these problems." "Not yet," Ethan conceded, grabbing a napkin from his coffee cup. "But this might..." He sketched a curved line. "That's the velocity of a car. The area underneath, that's how far it traveled. The slope at any point, that's acceleration." Understanding dawned slowly on Lucas's face, like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. By their third session, Lucas was solving problems on his own, each correct answer bringing a grin that transformed his usually serious face. "Where did you learn to explain things like that?" Lucas asked as they packed up after their 5th meeting. "You're better than Professor Warren." Ethan shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. "My mom was sick a lot when I was in high school. I missed classes sometimes, had to teach myself." The words slipped out before he could stop them, a piece of personal history he rarely shared. Something about Lucas's earnest attention made it easy to talk, despite their different worlds. "Is she better now?" Lucas asked, genuine concern in his voice. Ethan zipped his backpack with more force than necessary. "She died my senior year. Cancer." Lucas didn't offer platitudes or awkward sympathy. Instead, he sat quietly, sharing the weight of the moment. "That's why you started college late?" Ethan nodded, surprised at the observation. "Medical bills. Had to work to pay them off before I could think about tuition." A strange expression crossed Lucas's face, something between guilt and admiration. I can't imagine having that kind of responsibility." The irony of his wealthy student's comment wasn't lost on Ethan, but there was no malice in Lucas's words, just the honest acknowledgement of a sheltered life. Their sessions continued twice weekly, and gradually, tutoring became more than a transaction. Lucas brought coffee, remembering exactly how Ethan took it, black with 1 sugar. Ethan found himself saving newspaper articles about the city's architectural innovations, knowing Lucas's interest in design. Small kindnesses bridged the chasm between their worlds. 3 weeks into their arrangement, Ethan arrived at the library to find Lucas missing. 10 minutes stretched to 20. He was packing to leave when Lucas rushed in, hair disheveled, eyes red-rimmed. "Sorry," Lucas muttered, dropping into the chair. Family stuff. Ethan recognized the look, had worn it himself too many times. "We can reschedule." "No," Lucas said sharply, then softer. "Please, I need the distraction." They worked in silence until Lucas's pencil stopped mid-equation. "My dad has these expectations," he said suddenly, staring at the half-completed problem. "The family legacy, the Bennett name." He gave a hollow laugh. "Except I'm terrible at business, worse at economics, and barely passing math." "Haha. What do you want to do?" Ethan asked. It seemed like a simple question, but Lucas looked at him as if he'd asked something profound. "Architecture," Lucas answered after a long pause. "Sustainable design. Buildings that help communities, not just look impressive in a skyline." His voice gained strength as he spoke, hands sketching invisible structures in the air. But that's not the Bennett way. Ethan thought of his own dreams, deferred but never abandoned. Sometimes you have to build your own way. Something shifted between them that afternoon. The realization that despite their vastly different financial circumstances, they both knew what it meant to carry burdens invisible to others. The midterm came and went. Lucas earned a B+, his highest math grade since high school. To celebrate, he insisted on treating Ethan to dinner, overriding objections with stubborn persistence. "Just pizza," Lucas promised. "Nothing fancy." But the restaurant was decidedly not just pizza. White tablecloths, waiters in crisp shirts, and prices that made Ethan's stomach clench. He was underdressed in his faded jeans and only decent sweater, acutely aware of each frayed thread. "You said pizza," Ethan hissed as they were seated. Lucas shrugged, apparently oblivious to Ethan's discomfort. "It is pizza. Just really good pizza." Throughout dinner, Ethan remained tense, calculating the cost of each bite. When Lucas excused himself to take a phone call, Ethan's gaze wandered to the neighboring table where a family celebrated some milestone. The father, silver-haired and distinguished, caught his eye and nodded politely before returning to his conversation. Lucas returned distracted, checking his phone repeatedly until Ethan finally asked, "Everything okay?" "My father," Lucas sighed, "wants me to attend some foundation event next week." He pocketed his phone. "Sorry." "He's intense about his philanthropy work. At least he cares about giving back," Ethan offered, thinking of the scholarship that had changed his own life. Lucas's expression darkened. "It's not about giving back for him. It's about legacy and tax breaks and seeing his name on buildings." The bitterness in his voice surprised Ethan, who had always imagined wealth would simplify life's complications. As they left the restaurant, the silver-haired man from the neighboring table was climbing into a sleek black car. He raised a hand in greeting to Lucas, who stiffened beside Ethan. "Friend of yours?" Ethan asked as the car pulled away. "Business associate of my father's," Lucas muttered. "They're everywhere in this city." Winter descended on campus, transforming the grounds into a pristine wonderland that quickly devolved into treacherous slush. Ethan's thin jacket provided little protection against the biting cold, but pride kept him from admitting how the walk from the bus stop left his fingers numb and cheeks raw. During one particularly brutal December morning, Lucas arrived at their study session to find Ethan huddled at their usual table, hands wrapped around a coffee cup, shivering slightly. Without comment, Lucas disappeared, returning 15 minutes later with a package that he unceremoniously dropped in front of Ethan. "What's this?" Ethan asked, eyeing the store bag suspiciously. "Just open it." Inside was a charcoal gray wool coat, simple, elegant, and undoubtedly expensive. Ethan immediately pushed it back toward Lucas. "I can't accept this." "Why not?" Lucas challenged. "It's pragmatic. You're freezing, I had store credit, and you can't tutor me if you get pneumonia." "It's too much," Ethan insisted, though his fingers lingered on the soft material. Lucas's expression softened. "It's not charity, Ethan. It's friendship." The word hung between them, an offering more significant than the coat. Ethan had been so focused on their differences that he'd missed how comfortable their companionship had become. With reluctant gratitude, he accepted both gifts. As finals approached, their sessions intensified. Lucas improved steadily, gaining confidence with each solved problem. One evening, exhausted from back-to-back shifts at the coffee shop, Ethan arrived late to find Lucas already working through practice problems, a to-go container waiting. "You looked like you needed food yesterday," Lucas explained when Ethan raised an eyebrow at the still-warm pasta. Figured today wouldn't be different. The simple act of consideration, of being seen, hit Ethan with unexpected force. How long had it been since someone had noticed his needs without him having to ask? Since his mother, probably. "Thanks," he managed, the word inadequate for the emotion behind it. Their study session ran longer than usual, the library emptying around them as night deepened. When they finally packed up, Lucas hesitated. "Do you want to ride home? It's freezing out there." Pride and practicality warred briefly before Ethan nodded. "That would be great, actually." Lucas's car was not the flashy sports model Ethan had expected, but a practical hybrid. Expensive still, but understated. As they pulled away from campus, Lucas asked for directions. "Just head down Miller Avenue," Ethan said, sudden embarrassment washing over him as he realized Lucas would see where he lived. The rundown apartment complex that stood in stark contrast to what he imagined was Lucas's reality. Lucas navigated the increasingly narrow streets without comment, but Ethan caught his quick glance at the graffiti-tagged walls and barred windows of the neighborhood. When they reached the apartment building, water stains mapping the exterior walls, security door propped open with a brick, Ethan rushed to fill the awkward silence. "It's temporary," he explained, though he'd lived there for nearly 2 years. "Until I finish school." Lucas nodded, eyes surveying the building with an unreadable expression. "Makes sense." Ethan reached for the door handle, eager to escape the moment, when Lucas spoke again. "Would you consider a different arrangement next semester?" Something cold settled in Ethan's stomach. Had bringing Lucas here been a mistake? Did he now seem too needy, too different? "What kind of arrangement?" he asked cautiously. "My apartment has a second bedroom that's just sitting empty. The rent would be less than this place, and it's walking distance to campus." Lucas spoke quickly, as if anticipating objections. "You'd be doing me a favor. I hate living alone, and my roommate transferred to study abroad." Ethan stared, processing the offer and all its implications. "You're asking me to be your roommate? Only if you want to." Lucas shrugged, aiming for casual but not quite hitting it. "No pressure." The practical benefits were undeniable. Lower rent, better location, safer neighborhood. But something else made Ethan consider it seriously. The realization that in Lucas, he'd found not just a tutoring client, but a friend. "I'll think about it," he promised, meaning it. That night, in his chilly apartment, with the persistent drip from the bathroom ceiling keeping time like a metronome, Ethan weighed his options. Pride had kept him isolated for so long, refusing help, shouldering every burden alone. But wasn't there strength too in accepting connection when offered? By morning, he'd made his decision. He would accept Lucas's offer, not from necessity, but from choice. Their friendship, unlikely as it was, had become something he valued. The semester ended with Lucas passing calculus with an A-, and Ethan maintaining his perfect GPA despite his grueling work schedule. They agreed to meet after the holiday break to finalize roommate details. Ethan picked up extra shifts during the vacation, saving every dollar to ensure he could pay his share when they moved in together. 3 days after Christmas, Ethan's phone rang with an unknown number. Thinking it might be about a job application, he answered to find a woman's crisp professional voice. "Is this Ethan Cole? I'm calling from the Westlake University Financial Aid Office. There's been an update to your scholarship package." Ethan's heart sank. Scholarship reductions were common, especially mid-year. "What kind of update?" "You've been selected for the Bennett Foundation Full Merit Scholarship. It covers all remaining tuition, plus a stipend for living expenses and books." The world tilted. "There must be a mistake. I didn't apply for that. You were nominated by the Mathematics Department for academic excellence despite significant financial hardship," the woman explained. "The foundation selected you from over 300 candidates." Ethan sat heavily on his bed, mind racing. "The Bennett Foundation?" "Yes. It's one of our most prestigious awards. Only 5 students receive it each year." After ending the call, Ethan stared at his phone in disbelief before searching Bennett Foundation. The results showed a global philanthropy organization focused on educational access and medical research. Its founder and chairman? William Bennett, a silver-haired man whose photo looked strikingly familiar. The man from the restaurant, Lucas's father. Had Lucas arranged this? Was their friendship just pity from a wealthy kid playing at being charitable? The thought burned, pride and gratitude warring within him. He tried calling Lucas, but the calls went straight to voicemail. For 3 days, Ethan alternated between gratitude for the life-changing opportunity and resentment at feeling like a charity case. On New Year's Eve, a knock at his door broke through his rumination. Lucas stood in the hallway, shoulders dusted with snow. "You're not answering your phone. You're not telling me the truth." Ethan countered, but stepped aside to let him in. Lucas surveyed the small apartment. The water stains, the patched furniture, the textbooks stacked neatly beside a mattress on the floor. With none of the judgment Ethan had feared, only a quiet understanding. "I should have told you who my father was," Lucas admitted, "but I didn't want that to define our friendship." "Did you arrange the scholarship?" Ethan demanded. "No." Lucas answered immediately, then hesitated. "Not directly. My father asked about you after seeing us at the restaurant. I told him you were helping me pass calculus despite working multiple jobs. He ... remembered what that was like." "What do you mean?" Lucas sighed, dropping onto Ethan's only chair. "My father wasn't born wealthy. He grew up in a neighborhood not unlike this one. Worked his way through community college before getting his big break in tech. The foundation started because he never forgot what it was like to have potential but no resources." The revelation shifted something in Ethan's perception, not just of Lucas, but of wealth and privilege themselves. They weren't monolithic experiences, but complex histories with their own struggles and triumphs. "The scholarship had nothing to do with our friendship," Lucas continued. "You earned it. Your professors nominated you. The committee selected you. I'm just glad it happened." Outside, snow fell in gentle flurries, muffling the world. Inside, the space between them, filled moments ago with misunderstanding, gradually cleared. "So," Lucas said eventually, "does this change your mind about being roommates?" Ethan considered the question, the complicated tangle of pride and friendship. "No," he said finally, "but I'm paying my share of rent from the stipend. No discounts." Lucas grinned, relief evident. Wouldn't dream of it. Moving day arrived with spring's first tentative warmth. Lucas's apartment was everything Ethan had expected. Spacious, modern, in a secure building near campus. And everything he hadn't. Welcoming, slightly messy, filled with architectural books and hand-drawn designs pinned to walls. As they arranged Ethan's few possessions alongside Lucas's many, their conversation flowed easily between classes for the new semester and plans for the apartment. Lucas wanted to repaint the living room. Ethan suggested rearranging the furniture for better natural light. That evening, they sat on the balcony watching the city transition from day to night, lights blinking on across the skyline like stars emerging. "I've been thinking," Lucas said, breaking a comfortable silence, "about what you said months ago, building my own way." Ethan turned to him, curious. "I'm changing my major to architectural design," Lucas continued. "I told my father over break." "How did he take it?" Lucas's laugh held genuine amusement. "He asked what took me so long. Said he'd been watching me design buildings with Legos since I was 4. He shook his head. "All this time I thought I was disappointing him by not following the Bennett way in business. Turns out he just wanted me to find something I cared about." "Your dad sounds wiser than you gave him credit for," Ethan observed. "He said something else too," Lucas added, suddenly serious. "That sometimes the most valuable education comes from people who see the world differently than you do." He met Ethan's gaze. He was talking about you. The acknowledgement settled between them, of how their unlikely friendship had changed them both. For Lucas, the courage to pursue his passion. For Ethan, the willingness to accept connection without sacrificing pride. As spring blossomed into summer, their apartment became more than just a living space. It transformed into a home. Lucas's architectural models gradually took over the dining table. Ethan's mathematical theorems filled a whiteboard in the corner. They learned each other's rhythms. Lucas was hopeless at cooking, but excellent at cleaning. Ethan could turn random ingredients into meals, but scattered books everywhere. Their worlds expanded to include each other's. Lucas joined Ethan at his weekend construction job occasionally, gaining practical knowledge that complemented his theoretical studies. Ethan reluctantly attended a foundation gala with Lucas, meeting William Bennett properly, not as a billionaire philanthropist, but as Lucas's father, who spoke with genuine interest about Ethan's research and career goals. One evening in late summer, as golden light streamed through the windows of their shared apartment, Ethan found Lucas on the balcony, sketching intently. "What's that?" he asked, setting down 2 cups of coffee. Lucas tilted the sketchbook to reveal a building design, modern yet welcoming, with green spaces integrated throughout. "My senior project, Community Learning Center for the Riverside neighborhood." Ethan recognized the area, not far from his old apartment. "Ambitious. The Bennett Foundation is looking to fund new educational initiatives," Lucas explained. He hesitated. "I thought maybe we could collaborate. Your knowledge of math and science education, my design skills." Ethan echoed, surprised by the proposal. "Why not? You're always talking about making education accessible. This could be a start." Lucas's eyes held the same intensity they had when he'd first asked for tutoring help. Determination mixed with vulnerability. Ethan considered how far they'd both come from that first reluctant meeting in the library. How a simple act of helping someone had cascaded into transformation for them both. The poor student and the struggling classmate had found in each other not just academic support, but the courage to reimagine their futures. "I'd like that," Ethan said finally, the simple words carrying the weight of all that had changed. As sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, they began planning. 2 friends from different worlds, building something new together, each bringing their unique perspective to create something neither could have imagined alone. In that moment, Ethan understood the true value of their unlikely friendship. It wasn't about the scholarship or the apartment or even the professional opportunity. It was about recognizing that sometimes the most profound changes begin with the simplest choices, like saying yes to tutoring a struggling classmate on a rainy afternoon in a university library. Every great journey begins with a single step. For Ethan Cole, it had been extending a hand to help another person climb. In doing so, he'd found not just a friend in Lucas Bennett, but a path forward he never could have walked alone, proving once again that in teaching, we learn, in giving, we receive, and in connecting across differences, we discover the best versions of ourselves.